Today's workshop will be on digital competencies with illiterate people. And our workshop leader today is Veronique de Leener. Veronique is director at Marx VZW, and she will be working with us on some methods for digital storytelling with illiterate people today. My name is Laura, I'm from Joblinge, and I will be your moderator for today's workshop. Inza, who you can also see, she will be the operator for this workshop session. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, you are free to ask them at any time. I checked with Veronique and she's fine to raise your questions anytime throughout the presentation. You don't need to wait until the end. If you raise your question in the chat on the right side of your screen, I will do my best to coordinate them so everybody gets a say. All right, then the only thing left for me is to let you know that this workshop will be recorded. So just to be sure you all got that. You can also see a notification on the top of your screen. All right, then I will give the word to Veronique, and I'm looking forward to this workshop.
Hello, everyone. My name is Veronique. I'm director from Max, like so Laura told us. And Max is situated in Brussels, and we have 2 digital competence centers in 2 of the poorest neighborhoods of Brussels. So feel free to ask your questions. I will start my presentation and share my screen now. So I will also show you some digital stories, some videos. So sometimes there is a problem with the sound. So tell me if something is not going good, and then we can start, or I can put the link in the chat so you can see it on your own computer. So let's start with my presentation. Okay, so like I said, we are situated in Kuurichem-Molenbeek in Brussels capital region. We are in neighborhoods where there are 184 different nationalities, mostly migrants and refugees. 50% of the people lives in poverty. We have an unemployment for 30%, and we have a very low skilled population. 50% of them only have primary degree or don't have any degree. So we have a lot of illiterate people in this neighborhood, and we try to do some digital projects with them. So I want to ask you 2 questions, and you have to answer with hands up. Which of the participants already realized a digital story? So I will go out of my screen and try to see the hand raised. How many people already have made a digital story? No one? So the second question is, do you already have seen a digital story? And hands up if you already have seen a digital story. Yes, 1 person, Claudio, already knows something about digital story. The other people, no. So I know a little bit that I have to start from the beginning. Sorry, Claudio, if you have not so, if I repeat things you already know, but it was difficult for me to see what the people already know. So a digital story, what is it? I will show you 2 little videos, and one of them is a digital story, and afterwards you will tell me or I will tell you which of one is the digital story. So I start with this one.
Je vais vous raconter une histoire qui m'est arrivée. J'habite ici dans le Peterborough depuis plus de 27 ans. Il y a ici quelques années en arrière, j'avais la visite de mon petit-fils qui était pas trop bien, point de vue de maladie. Et quand on a constaté que sa température ne baissait pas, on a fait venir le médecin qui nous a fait une ordonnance. Et malheureusement, ce soir-là, la pharmacie n'était pas ouverte parce que c'était le samedi. Et je me suis présenté devant la pharmacie pour prendre l'adresse de la pharmacie de Gert. Et soudainement,
Ah, monsieur.
J'ai rencontré deux gars qui étaient là et que quand ils m'ont vu que j'étais ennuyé, ils m'ont posé la question, qu'est-ce qui se passe? Et je leur ai demandé où se trouve la place Barin. Ils m'ont dit, mais allez, viens, on va t'y conduire.
Ben, venez, on va vous déposer. Hein.
C'est pas.
C'est possible, ouais. Allez, viens.
Oui?
Ouais, bien sûr. Viens, papa.
Allez.
Pour une fois, on peut aider une personne.
Avant de monter dans la voiture, j'avais une grande méfiance.
Ça?
J'avais peur. J'avais peur des joints, j'avais peur alors de leur musique volume back, et c'est ça. Et c'était j'avais peur de monter dans la voiture. Pour mon petit-fils qui est malade.
Parce que la pharmacie du quartier, elle est fermée.
On a tout ce qu'il faut ici. Hein?
Ah non, pas ça. Non. Des vrais médicaments pour sa santé.
Rigole.
Quel tueur.
Médicaments ici.
On y va ou quoi?
Finalement, on m'avait coincé derrière. Un gars d'un côté, un gars de l'autre côté. On ne savait même plus mettre une feuille de cigarette entre mes fesses, tellement que je paniquais. Je vous laisse faire pour la pharmacie de Gert.
T'inquiète, on va connaître une.
Ouais, on va aller, on va t'amener.
C'est gentil.
Ça va?
Oui, ça me fait drôle, mais je suis content.
T'inquiète.
On va t'emmener chez nous.
Ils ont commencé à mettre de la musique, à me parler, de me mettre à l'aise. Et au fur et à mesure qu'on roulait, je me sentais plus en sécurité.
Allez, Julien, avec nous. Julien est parti. Ouais. Avec nous, dans le quartier. Ouais. Ah ouais, j'en roule ici. C'est un pilote, hein, mon pote. Hein. Juste un pilote. Hein.
Je vous jure que je ne sais pas mettre pour le moment une feuille de cigarette à mon Pour aller à la pharmacie de Gertie, il y avait un médicament qui manquait, qui était le médicament, le principal, c'était l'antibiotique. Et d'office, ils nous ont dit, on va aller voir ailleurs, il n'y a pas de problème, monsieur. Hein, et finalement, on a trouvé le médicament, on m'a reconduit. Et quand je suis sorti de la voiture, j'étais content, non seulement que j'étais chez moi, mais que tout s'était bien passé.
Comment ça a été?
Et au fur et à mesure que j'étais dans leur présence, je me suis rendu compte que ces gars étaient spitants et que je ne devais pas avoir peur d'eux. Et ce qui est formidable, c'est qu'on est resté des très grands amis et des bons copains. Et c'est pour bien faire comprendre qu'au Peterbos, il y a une population intense d'immigration. Et ici, j'ai rencontré des jeunes Marocains. Et voilà ce qui s'est passé. Et je leur dis encore actuellement un grand merci.
So you saw the first story. I hope everything was okay with the sound. I will give you the second one. Everything was okay with the sound? Yes? Okay.
Yes, it was fine.
I go to the other because I want to be sure if everything was okay. So I go to the other one.
Ik ben Gushal Hotak. Het is mijn mooie dag. Ik ga naar school. Het is mijn eerste dag. Daar mijn lerares zegt mij dank u. Maar ik begrijp het niet. Op een andere dag ga ik naar Oostende. In Oostende ga ik naar de bakker. Ik zeg goedemiddag, ik wil een brood. Ik geef geld in de bakkerij. Zegt mij dank u. Dan pas begrijp ik wat dank u is. Dat is mijn mooie dag.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the digital story?
Ik ben Gushal Hotak. Het is.
Why does he start again? That was not the purpose. Okay. It was, I think, an easy one. The second one was a digital story and also made with someone who had difficulties to write and read. The first was an intergenerational project we did in a neighborhood, and also it was also a personal story. It was a personal narrative story. Mostly a digital story can be between 1 to 5 minutes, but mostly with literate people we make it 1 or 2 minutes. It's with photos, drawings, collages, still images. That's also the difference with the first story. And then there is a voice of the storyteller. It's also edited by the storyteller. And the aim is to share a story with other people, to influence them or to bring them to some action. So the purpose of a digital story is always to share something. So that's very important. When we talk about digital storytelling cookbook, digital storytelling is something who came out of the United States, and they make a digital storytelling cookbook, the storycenter.org. Joe Lambert is the director of it, and they said in a digital story there are 7 elements. First of all, you are in contact with the point of view of the maker. There is a kind of dramatic question. There are a lot of emotions involved. It is your voice. Sometimes you can have the power of a soundtrack. In the last story, we didn't have a soundtrack, but people can choose to have it. We have some information, just enough, not too much, and there is a kind of rhythm in the story. I will show you another one.
Vroeger in Iran was ik een vluchteling. Ik was toen 12 jaar. Ik ben niet naar school geweest. Ik had geen recht. Ik was een vluchteling. Ik ben 8 jaar gebleven zonder papieren. Ik werkte als klusjesman bij een familie. In 2015 ben ik naar België gekomen. Ik ben blij om naar school te gaan.
So, are there any questions? I will look. No?
Can I just ask you something?
Yes.
Okay, can I use the microphone, or is it better if I just write it down?
No, you can use the microphone. It's okay.
Yeah, I was just wondering, so when we talk about storytelling, because I first thought that that was about a person talking about himself or herself. But you also showed us that it might be someone who is talking about like a situation he's involved too. But like, you know, the first man, he was talking about the relationship between, you know, immigrants and local people. So, of course, it was something that refers to his own story, but he was talking about like somebody else, you know, also. Whereas I just thought it was a kind of biography, the storytelling.
No, mostly it's about biography, but we use it also. For example, we did a project with youngsters about radicalization, and then they give their point of view about something. So it's a personal story and emotions are involved, but you can also take your point of view about something.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Then, So I want to talk to you and let you feel a little bit illiterate. I want to try you to find out, these are Japanese characters. And do you have any idea about what these characters means? I guess no. So I will give you the first. One of them is happiness. One of them is wisdom. One of them is strength. One of them is love. And one of them is life. So try to find out which could be the one. So it's about the feeling to not understand some letters and how it is to be illiterate. You take a metro and you don't understand which metro you have to come out. So you have a lot of things that are very difficult when you are illiterate. I give you the answer. 1 is love, 2 is strength, 3 is happiness, nice sign. I find it myself. And then you have 4 wisdom and 5 is life. So when we talk about illiterate people, I want to ask you, how many people in Europe do you think are with literacy difficulties? We are 337 million in total. We have no statistics about illiterate people, but we have only statistics about people with literacy difficulties. So think about a number. Yes, I go to the answer. So we have 55 million of people who have problems with literacy. And this is 1 on 6 people who have problems with literacy. And you see the highest level of literacy is in Latvia, Estonia, Ukraine, and Belarus. And the lowest one are in Portugal, Malta, and Turkey. And then there was a Dutch study in the Netherlands who said first of all, they said that digital literacy cost a lot to all these states of the European Union. And they calculated that an investment of €1 augmenting or increasing literacy from people, the return on investment is €179. So, except that for me, literacy is a kind of human right. Also, if you want to see it only from the economical part, you can see that investing in literacy can help the economy. So the link with digital literacy, it's logical that if you are not literated, digital literacy is difficult for you. And then the question is, can we help illiterate peoples to use devices? And can the use of digital tools help them to work on literacy? We use sometimes apps where you can take a picture of images and then you see the word on it in our courses. Also, we try with the digital storytelling to make that people can make their voices heard, and also work on social inclusion and citizenship using digital tools. So, for example, we use a life story and we use it a kind of professional orientation. We have a project for illiterate people who tries to bring them to a job or to a course. And we use digital story as a kind of orientation for them. I will show you the video and then we can talk about it.
Ik ben Idiatu. Ik kom uit Guinea. Mijn talent is organiseren. Ik kan goed werken met de kinderen. Ik hou van kinderen. Ik kook en poets van 6 kinderen in Afrika. Ik help mijn mama. Ik doe alles in huis alleen. Ik doe de kleren aan. Ik geef eten aan de kinderen. Ik speel met de kinderen. Ik lees de kinderen praten. Later wil ik graag werken in de crash. Ik wil goed Nederlands lezen en spreken. Ik wil graag een opleiding volgen.
So they work a lot on talents, on what they like, what they don't like, and then at the end they put this in a story. Also, you have seen we use a lot of puppets, and there was a kind of movement in the story. These are all photos who were edited one after the other. It's kind of stop motion as a technique that we used here. Because it's easier to create situations with this. So it's kind of life review for them, working on identity, kind of a self-reflection, but also thinking about the future, what they want to do, what are their goals and what kind of way do they have to follow to attend their goals. So because she told she has a lot of experience with children, she wants to work in a childcare, but before she has to learn Dutch, and then she can go to a course to follow the course to work in a childcare. Just kind of self-reflection. Also, you see that we are aware of people are aware of their own emotions and they try to be creative. In some way, it's important because they didn't had the possibility to do this before. So then we had another project, a project we called Huristo. This was a project that we conducted in Italy, Belgium, and Spain. And it was about the Charter of the Human Rights. We asked people to look at different articles to form an opinion and to try to find a personal story about this topic. We wanted for them to make their voices heard and also to make them a call to action. I will explain methodology afterwards, but I will show you first a video.
J'ai travaillé dans un restaurant pendant des années. Mon patron m'a demandé de travailler plus d'heures pour le même salaire. C'est ce que je faisais. Mais après, je perdais ce travail. Je cherche un nouveau travail, mais c'est difficile. Les ouvriers sont remplacés par des machines. Je ne sais pas encore lire et écrire. Et je ne sais pas utiliser l'ordinateur pour chercher. Mais le nom m'oppresse comme un citron. Monsieur, donnez-nous les preuves que veut chercher le travail. Mais comment je peux faire ça? Avant ou toquer aux portes. Mais maintenant, c'est avec l'Internet. J'apprends à lire et écrire. Mais ça prend du temps. Le nom ne comprend pas. Ça me stresse.
So maybe are there questions now? No? So I go on with the presentation. So what is important, before we start the project, we show some stories to people, and then mostly 2 questions come back every time. People ask us, is my story interesting enough? Do you think it will interest people, what I'm going to tell? And at the same time, people say we are not able to do this. It's too difficult for us to work with a computer. So we try to prove them that their story is interesting and that they are able to do this. So what is the methodology we use? First of all, we use, I don't know if you know it, Dixit cards. And Dixit cards give them the possibility to make, to pick up a card and tell a story about it. we had also, but I will show you later, all kind of photos that they can use. Sometimes we use also, for the professional orientation, we use also this coat of arms, where they can find a device, values, their strengths, symbols, who inspires you, your mission, also an identity star, who are you, what is your family, what is your nationality, religion, leisure. So then for the professional orientation, we do all kinds of exercises about talents, and every time then they have to put it in this story to make the video. It's clear they do the editing from A till Z. We help them, we do it with tablets, sometimes with smartphones, sometimes with laptops, but step by step we learn them to make also the editing. Then we made, for the heuristic project, we made a photo language that you can download this photo language if you see the link there, and it's a kind of 40 photos about the human rights, where they can be used to trigger people and to tell them, let them tell stories about their human rights and their own situation. So afterwards, we go to the story circle, and there the people can explain the one to each other how the stories, which story they want to tell, and other people can give feedback. It's very important when you go to the story circle that you have some rules. So I want to ask you now, if you want to share your own story about your first reading or writing experience. And I will give you, normally I have 200, 300 Dixie cards set up in a room where you can choose your cards. But now I selected 8, and I have to ask you to select one of the 8 pictures and tell a story about it. So I will help you. For me, I will take, for example, number 1. And in this number 1, you have this lady, the teacher, talking to the children, and she looks very angry. And that was my first writing experience. I'm left-handed, and teacher didn't agree that I write with my left hand. So she was very angry every time I take a stylo and write with my left hand. So she even beats me or to oblige me to write with my right hand. So this was my first story. What is nice now that I can write with both hands. So that was the result of that. I write now with right hand, but I can also write with left hand. So look at these pictures a little moment. Think about your story. If you don't have a personal story, you can choose the story of your children or a friend or people, participants of your organization, and so on. Normally, digital story should be personal, but now, if you don't have really a story, see it. So I want to see, I let you a little bit time to choose. And to think about your story. Do you need more time? or it's okay. I will look now at Teams. It's okay. Does everyone?
Claire is saying no, so I think
Okay, I go back.
that's enough.
Yeah, okay. How many people are we now? Can you see this, Laura?
We're quite a lot. I can't see the number exactly, but around 30 people.
Okay, so I will go in the breakout rooms when we do the exercise of the storytelling. So I give you a little bit more time to look at your picture. I hope it's okay, otherwise I will repeat it afterwards. So you are going now in groups to the breakout rooms. Try to make a story circle. But before the story circle, you have to establish some rules. First of all, everyone's story is valid. We want respect for the story for each other, so it's important to be no negative facial expressions, body language, or sounds that indicate disinterest or disapproval. Confidentiality, today it is a little bit difficult because what is said in the room stays in the room, but because the organizer recorded it, you know that it will not stay in the room. But when we do a story circle, normally we ask people to have it confidentially. So let each person talk until they are finished presenting their script or idea before jumping in with comments or questions. And the feedback, let the storyteller begin, but ask others to start with something positive feedback, and then you can ask some question if you miss information. You're not allowed to criticize the content of the other one. You are only allowed to ask about some information. The methodology of the story circle and how we do it, you can find it here in the Juristen EU methodology. So I go back and I think we're gonna see if you choose photo 1 or 2, please go to the breakout room A. If you choose 3 and 4, breakout room B. If you choose 5 or 6, breakout room C, and 7, 8 is to breakout room D. You can move to the breakout room when you want, and when you're in your breakout room, everyone can start telling his story, and I will join every breakout room, the one after the other, if it's okay for you. So I hope it works. Do you see, Laura or Insa, people moving to the breakout rooms? Because I cannot.
I'm just checking. Does everybody know how to move to the breakout rooms?
Not really, sorry.
Okay, yeah, I guess that. So if you go to the main side of the Teams, the screen that you see in Veronique's screen right now, Insa is opening the breakout rooms, and you can join via these rooms. So just check out the general themes of our workshop room. And on the left side, you can see the channels, which are named by the name of the breakout room. So there's breakout room A, B, C, and D. Let me know if you have any trouble still.
Hello. I'm completely lost. Okay. I try to go in the D. So are people so I come back to the general room. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Veronique. This is Victoria.
Back to the general room. Can you? Because it was a little bit difficult, I think, in the. Are people now in the general room? Yes. Does someone want to share a story they shared for the whole group? Is there someone who wants to share a story that they shared for the whole group? Because I don't know in the breakout rooms if it worked. I only had the time to visit 2 of them. If there's someone who wants to share a story, I know it was very difficult to have this story circle online. Okay, I go on with the presentation if no one wants to share the story. So for me,
I think we're still missing a few people. We're now around 20 people here. And I think I'll just check in the breakout rooms if everybody found their way back. And you can continue with your presentation, Veronique. Okay, I think we can go on, and if somebody's still missing, they will find their way.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed a little bit this tryout to story circle. Then when we finished in the story circle to try to find out our story, we asked people to make a kind of storyboard. So you see here an example of a storyboard. Sometimes if people don't like to draw things, we ask them to use magazines and cut out pictures and put it like a storyboard. And sometimes they use the magazines and also the pictures for the magazines in their story. So you have to see that for illiterate people, the storyboard can be something important because sometimes it's that way that they remember their story, because other people write down the story and read the story during the storytelling. But here we use sometimes the parts of the storyboard, and so we show the parts of the storyboard, and so people remember what they want to tell. This is an issue that we used a lot with illiterate people because or we use some keywords they know so they can remember and tell the story again. Sometimes we ask them first also to look after the pictures, and then we ask them to tell the story while we show on the computer the different pictures. So what are the technical requirements? So you need a microphone. We use also a lot of digital camera. You need something to record sound. You need a screen to view your story afterwards and a computer to make it. What is important, we also use tablets or smartphone, but there mostly in a smartphone or a tablet, the microphone who is in it is not so good quality. So it's interesting to take an outside microphone that you can connect on the smartphone or the tablet. You can also have such microphones now for 30 euros. I think you can buy a good microphone if you use a tablet. To do it on a computer, you can also use a microphone, depending how good is or bad the quality. Because it's important in a digital story, it's important that you have a good quality of the sound. So we make an explanation about Creative Commons because we want people to use license-free images and music. It's very important that they learn also about images and the right to use it and the music. If you don't you can't use every music you want to. Sometimes, yeah, people want to use something really music that is really known, and so then we ask them sometime that they sing it or they play it or they ask someone they know to play it, then they can use this music. We have sometimes people making their own music and putting the music on their videos. Also, it's very nice. Then we start the editing, and it's also we use or Shortcut or iMovie or PowerPoint. With PowerPoint, we choose images and then we export it as a movie. Shortcut and iMovie are the most we use. What is interesting is that people learn to put all the photos together, all the sound together, and then they drag all the photos on the timeline of the video. And you see it. You see here the man in blue. That's the photo you're on, and then you put it on. You drag it on your timeline. And the green things is the sound, and you can put it higher and lower if you want to. But that we explain a little bit. The canal we have also in our manual, there is a little bit about how you have to edit. And the only thing, if we work with illiterate people, you have to see that it's necessary to have where we do the editing, not before, but when we do the editing is mostly 2-3 persons for one facilitator, because they have, for the most of them, is the first time that they use the computer, and so the editing is difficult for them. So we do it mostly 2-3 people for a facilitator, but only for the editing. Normally for the other parts we are with 8 participants and we work with one facilitator. So what is very important for the facilitator, so we work with groups from 8 to 10, the facilitator have to create a safe environment. Maybe you have noticed when you were in the breakout room that it's not so easy to try to share a personal story in this online environment, is because you don't feel safe in it. You don't know really how, you don't see the other people. You cannot see how they react. And if you tell a personal story, it's very difficult. So that's a thing that is very important, is to create this safe environment with the people and make sure that they trust each other. And then as a facilitator, you have a very important ethical rule. First of all, we discuss with the participants that the digital story is made for sharing. So they have to think about what do I want to share and which things I don't want to share. So this is the role of the facilitator, to see with them. So mostly when we do digital storytelling, we ask people to sign a consent form that they agree that the video is being shared. But at the same time, we tell them that they have the right of withdrawal, that anytime they want to to ask us to make the video disappear or to put a password on it, they can ask it. And so the coach has to guide the people to make their digital story. And sometimes it's very difficult that you don't want to influence people. But if you said, oh, it's better to choose this photo or the other photo, you give a kind of influencing. So you have to be trying to influence people less than possible. Sometimes we give also an, a little course about images, depending on how many time we have. And so maybe it's important for you to know a good digital storytelling project. With illiterate people, it costs about 30 hours. We do it sometimes 1 week, from Monday till Friday. Sometimes we discuss with participants that they come every Monday during 5 days, or in half, 2 blocks of 2-3 hours. You can discuss it, but we see that if we do it in 1 week, the participants are better in developing their story than when we do it an afternoon during 10 weeks. So this is important, but you have to discuss it with your group, what is good for them. So it's also important that you be co-creative and participative, and you have to know everything. If you are not so good in the editing, sometimes people can find a solution by themselves, or facilitators can help each other. So what we have seen with this project, that making the story enhance a lot the motivation, because they want to tell a story, but putting it in images and putting their voice on it is very important for them. They learn that they are capable to do these things, and they use different aptitudes. They have to collaborate, they have to tell the story. Sometimes if they are able, they have to write some words. They make a storyboard. It's a very important thing for their self-esteem. They are creative, and sometimes it's the feeling that they are a little artist. So I will show you another digital story.
Ik heb 22 jaar Marokko gewonnen. Ik niet naar school. Ik blijf thuis helpen mijn moeder. Ik trouw kom hier in België. Wonen in Brussel. Zonder familie is moeilijk. Ik spreek geen Frans, geen Nederlands. Blijf alleen thuis. Mijn hart is dicht. Ik ben triest. Ik woon 1 jaar alleen. Mijn dochter, ik ga naar school, is 1 leerjaar. Ik ook ga naar school Nederlands te leren. Nu, mijn hart is open. Ik heb weer vriendinnen. Ik blijf gaan naar school. Ik ben blij.
So I think for me, if you need more info, if you have some questions, you can, or if you want to share your story, we have a little bit time left, I think. So I don't know if you have questions. I come back to the teams.
Yes, we have some time left, and
Yeah.
you feel free to raise your questions.
Or tell a story if you want. You can also give comments. If you don't want to, if it was interesting for you or not interesting for you, or did you expect something else, or
For me, it was very interesting for my part. I didn't know the concept of digital storytelling before, and the key features that you showed us, that it consists of still images mainly. That was new to me, so I'm quite impressed by what illiterate people manage to do and how they improve. We have a comment from Liliana here in the chat, who's saying that she also thought that the concept was very interesting.
Yeah, I think this concept is very easy.
Sorry? Somebody
wanted to talk.
Yeah, this is Susie. I just wanted to know how long does it take more or less to produce a story? I mean, how many hours, how many days?
Yeah, we do it in 30 hours when we work with illiterate people, because we want them to take the time and not to rush. But you can do it sometimes in schools. We do it in 10 hours, but mostly the pupils are able to use a computer. But with illiterate people, and in most of the time, all those people you have seen, it was the first time they used a computer. So or they used a tablet. They never used it before, so we needed some time to do it, but it takes about 20-30 hours to do it well. Also, to have good stories, we want them also to look after music and after images, and or make their own images. And then at that moment you saw the guy who was talking about his refugee. He was looking for very good stories. This story with his shoes, he made it by himself. So if you want to make beautiful photos, you need some time to do it. But it's also, they learn a lot doing this. So and it's all about, they have to do a conversation. They have to ask it how to do it. So it's also integrated in their language course. But you have to see with the schools. If we do it, sometimes we do it integrate the language course, or we do it after a language course, people who came voluntary because they want to make their digital story. But we already made some digital stories in less time, but the quality is different regarding the time we use.
We have 2 more comments in the chat section. Lydiana is saying that the stories were built very impressively and showed the perspective of each character very well, which I agree with. They are very interesting characters, and you could see that in their stories.
Hi, Veronique. It's Rob here. I put a comment. Just want to speak about it. So we talked about giving people the confidence and the skills. So what about showing them outside of the groups? So we talked about sharing them in the circles, but it must be inspiring to other people in a similar situation, seeing their peers who are in a similar situation. That must give them the confidence to maybe try something new. Do you find that?
We do it now. It's we have a Vimeo channel with 1,400 digital stories on it, and they are free. Everyone who wants to go can see it. And what it was important, for example, with this Juristo project, the people, we had a group in Italy, a group in Spain, and a group in Belgium. They share their stories and look at the stories of each other and give some comments. And we had also a final conference in Brussels where some of the participants of Spain came to Brussels to show their stories. So it was very impressive because it was almost the ladies, mostly ladies from Spain, were people from rural areas, and mostly ladies who had worked on the field their whole life, and only when they were retired they went to school to learn to read and write. And they made the digital story, and then they made together with the classroom a trip to Brussels. For them it was to share their stories. For them it was marvelous to do this, and they were enjoying at the Digital Summit last year to show their stories there.
That's amazing. That sounds really good.
And at the same time, it's also interesting to use the story for social workers and for teacher training, because when we come and show our digital stories in schools, most of the teachers tell us, oh, my group is not able to do this. And if the teacher doesn't believe the group is able to do this, the person himself, of the pupils, of the participants, will not believe in it. So I think it's very important to use these things also in teachers' trainings and trainings of social workers to feel, because you see the emotions, the feelings that people had. Most of the people who didn't have the possibility to go to school, when they have the occasion, they go to school. So I think also this is an important role that we can use with these digital stories.
Can I ask one more question as well? Is that right? I'm really impressed you did it across different countries. Did you find that there were similarities between people who had low literacy or illiterate, as you say? Not so much in the stories, but the sort of themes of the stories, or were they completely different?
No. What most of them were talking about the right to work and the right to go to school. If we talk about the Charter of the Rights, we had a few about religion, had a few about childhood and child labor, but most of them were about going to school or have the right to work. Because those issues were so important for them.
Yeah, so that it translates across lots of different, doesn't matter where you are, similar issue in a way. Yeah, no, really interesting, thanks.
It seems that we have a teacher here in this round. Gabriela is just writing in the chat that she's a teacher in classes in the social sector. So I think that fits really well with what you just said, Veronique, that these stories need to be integrated in teachers' training as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important also because it's a way also to work away this fear of the computer or the tablet, because all those people are convinced. I can tell a story about a Roma woman, and she told me after making a story that I didn't understand why you trust me. You give me so a computer, and everyone is convinced that we Roma we steal a lot, and you trust me to give me a computer. So it was the most beautiful day of my life that I received this computer to work with. So I never could thinking about such thing, but we see that most of the people, once they made their digital story, they are very proud of it, and it's a kind of thing that made their life different. So and make them happy that they are able and to do this, and that someone is interested in their story. So that's a lot of empowerment, I think.
Yeah, that's a great experience. Seems like these stories also help to overcome intercultural differences and prejudices, like the story that you just told.
Yeah, I think, but at the same time, it's also we use it a lot also with youngsters. For example, we did a project about radicalization, and the teachers told us afterwards that the way the story circle is conducted, people cannot argument one to each other. So the teacher told us, if I want to have a discussion in my classroom about radicalization, and I have Muslim children in my classroom and other children in my classroom, I'm sure this will become a fight. But with this story circle and the way the story circle is conduced, they all tell their story, and you can only give positive feedback. So you can see the point of views of everyone without fighting or without discussing. And even difficult topics were are interested to do with this. We did this also, digital storytelling, with women victims of domestic violence. And there we see also that is very therapeutic for them, because they, where they made their story, they can review and relive what they what they did before and what happened to them. And then afterwards they said, the fact that I made my story, it's like it's out of my body, it's in the film. So this digital storytelling can be used in every kind of situation for any kind of problems. So I don't know if other people have other comments or questions.
I think we would have time for one more question, if there is one. I don't see any raised hands yet. All right. So just maybe one last question from my side then that I was interested in. Is there a minimum age, or what's the youngest people that you think it makes sense to work with in these stories?
Yeah, we did it with youngsters from 12, but then we made only digital stories about identity and using the identity star, where they only present themselves and they tell what they like to do, what their dreams are, something like this. But if you want to have a kind of self-reflection, maybe we need to have youngsters from 14. But we already did it from 12 to 14. But there we talk, they give a presentation, a kind of biography of themselves. And maybe you can do it with younger people, only the identity. But if you want to organize a story circle and make them tell stories, I think they have to be 14.
Great, thanks. Okay, I think as we are approaching the end of our workshop session, I would like to thank you very much, Veronique, for this very interesting presentation and workshop. I think we all gained some really new perspectives on digital storytelling and on the theme of illiteracy in general. Thank you all of you to join this workshop and your active participation in the breakout rooms, for sharing your stories. I think it really helped a lot to get some experience ourselves what digital storytelling and storytelling in general is about. We will continue with the All Digital Summit in the main hall. So I think at 4:40, in around 2 minutes, the live stream is going to start again. So I would like to thank you all again very much and hope to see you maybe in one of the other workshops tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.